Warning. The following show is intended strictly for entertainment purposes. While Kyle is an actual therapist, the diagnoses within apply to fictional characters only. Don't self-diagnose on the internet, kids. We aren't WebMD.
Hey everybody, welcome to Geek, Deconstructed, where we take a look at some of your favorite characters from pop culture and give them a real-world mental health diagnosis. My name's Kyle, I'm a mental health therapist in the state of Ohio. Today we're going to take a look at the man who put the original dick in a box, Ramsay Bolton. So when it comes to Ramsay Bolton, we have two options. We can look at the book version or we can look at the version from the HBO series. But either way, they're kind of going to go down the same path, and really the same diagnosis applies to both of them. So just a bit of background, Ramsay Bolton is the bastard son of Roose Bolton, who is the current warden of the North in both the books and the show. Now, Ramsay has a penchant for psychotic behavior. He's very fond of his family's history of skinning people, flaying people, torture in general, to the point where he actually tortures Theon Greyjoy to the point of so much trauma that he doesn't even know his own name anymore. He does terrible things to people. He will send out women into the forest and hunt them down with dogs. If they are a good hunt, he'll kill them easily and mercilessly. If they're not a good hunt, he'll flay them alive and then rape them. Or the opposite of that, he'll rape them, then flay them alive. Either way, Ramsay Bolton is not a man that you want to mess with or really even deal with, because he's a little bit crazy in the head and just goes to extreme lengths. So if you've watched the show before, I think you can probably already guess where I'm going to go with diagnosis, but let's go ahead and take a look at antisocial personality disorder. Now, as we talked about before, antisocial personality disorder is defined as a pervasive pattern of disregard for and violation of the rights of others, occurring since age 15 years, as indicated by at least 3 of the following symptoms. Now, a lot of our characters have a few symptoms here and there, and some of them barely meet that 3 symptom benchmark, but Ramsay Bolton is going to meet 6 of those criteria, so he meets double the criteria necessary to get this diagnosis. Now, the first criteria that Ramsay Snow is going to meet is criteria 1, which is a failure to conform to social norms with respect to lawful behaviors, as indicated by repeatedly performing acts that are grounds for arrest. Now, while in the Game of Thrones universe, Ramsay does not necessarily get arrested for any of his actions because he is the son of a lord, even a bastard son. In the real world, if he were here today, he would be in jail, probably on death row. He does a lot of terrible things to people, torture, murder, just a bad guy all around, and he really doesn't show any kind of remorse for any of those actions. He's also going to meet criteria 2, which is deceitfulness, as indicated by repeated lying, use of aliases, or conning others for personal profit or pleasure. Now, this doesn't happen so much in the show, but in the book, Ramsay Bolton actually takes on the persona of Reek at one point. Now, in the book and in the show, Reek is a little bit different of a character. In the book, Reek is actually Ramsay's manservant for a long period of time, and when Ramsay and Reek are caught performing a crime, Ramsay is set to be executed, but switches clothes with Reek in order to keep himself alive. He eventually joins Theon Greyjoy at Winterfell, and eventually reveals himself to be Ramsay Snow rather than Reek. But for this entire period of time, Ramsay has taken on this other persona, mainly to keep himself alive, but both for his own profit, in that case, living. Ramsay's also going to meet criteria 3, which is impulsivity or failure to plan ahead. Now, Ramsay has a lot of really great ideas, to a certain extent, depending on what your idea of a great idea actually is. But he's very good at planning assaults and sieges and torture and, finding ways to make people do what he wants. However, he's not good at looking at things happening in the long run. He's very good at short-term planning, but these long-term plans kind of fall through a lot for him. He's also going to be criteria 4, which is irritability and aggressiveness, as indicated by repeated physical fights or assaults. As I've already talked about, Ramsay is very good at torturing people. He sends the women out into the woods. He flays people alive, flays people after they've been killed. A lot of assaults going on. Not a lot of fights necessarily, but a lot of assaults. Criteria 5 is reckless disregard for the safety of self or others. Ramsay puts himself and his followers into harm's way quite frequently, to the point where he storms Winterfell. He storms just various areas in the name of his father in order to gain his father's favor. And finally, he's going to meet criteria 7, which is lack of remorse, as indicated by being indifferent to or rationalizing having hurt, mistreated, or stolen from another. Now, I've already talked a lot about what Ramsay's personality is like, and he is very non-remorseful for what he does. He's a very sadistic individual. He has no qualms about harming other people or killing, torturing, whatever it may be, as long as he is gaining from it. Finally, as with all disorders, we have criteria B, C, and D. He has to be at least 18 years of age. There has to be evidence of conduct disorder at an early onset before age 15. And the occurrence of antisocial behavior cannot be exclusively during the course of schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. Now, I'm not going to take a look necessarily at conduct disorder right now because there's a lot to go through with that, but based on the information in the books, he does show a lot of evidence of kind of the same behaviors as a child. So he definitely meets the criteria C. He's over 18 at this point in the story, so he definitely meets criteria B, and he doesn't meet any criteria for bipolar or schizophrenia, so criteria D is met. Alright guys, so that's it for Ramsay Snow. Not a lot to go on here, and like I said, something we've kind of seen in a lot of villains before, that's antisocial personality disorder. Alright guys, well, thank you so much for watching once again. Make sure you leave a comment below, tell me who I should be diagnosing next. Share the video if you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, bye.
We could have eaten a corn dog.
Do you have corn dogs?
That's what they were talking about, right? Do you usually eat anything Fallon? I could eat you a popsicle. Let's see if I have any of those. Oh, no, I think you threw them all away.
He is the bastard of... shit. But Ramsay Bolton is actually going to meet, I think, 7 of them altogether.
6.
Yeah, do the wrap up. You got it. Now the outro.